Hello, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I'm going to be giving a short presentation, kind of making the case for separation of teacher evaluation to keep the formative and summative evaluations two separate processes that are aligned and connected, but that are kept apart for some really good reasons I'm going to share with you coming up. So first off, I wanted to start with some definitions, just so we're totally clear what we're talking about here. When we're talking about summative teacher assessment or evaluation, again, the purpose of that is really to offer a judgment, to evaluate. Um, the goal is accountability, quality control, making sure that the teachers we have are meeting a certain level of performance. Um, this would be with like a standardized formal written evaluation based off the Danielson rubric in the state of Wisconsin. For formative assessment, we're talking about ongoing supervisory assessment with the purpose of giving feedback, offering instruction, building trust, and really partnering with staff to have reflective conversations. And again, that could be performed by administrators, but it could also be performed by teacher leaders, peers, coaches, or mentors. So a little bit more flexibility in who is doing the assessment with the formative assessment. So why should we separate the two? So we've got these two different processes. They seem connected. Why should we separate them? So the research is really clear that summative assessments are actually not leading to instructional outcomes improved for teachers or students. So that particular evaluation, while necessary, we need summative assessment and evaluation. We need to make sure that the teachers are, you know, complying with the district requirements and completing the duties of their jobs and not harming children. Um, but really, the research shows that those evaluations are not offering teacher support. They're not capacity building, and they're just focusing on again that standardization and judgment. On the other hand, the formative assessment is much more focused on that teacher improvement. When we combine those two systems together, it creates this natural human desire of teachers to sort of hide vulnerabilities. If they know that there's this end of the year evaluation looming that could, cost them their job if they don't do well, they feel this high stakes performative situation. Um, have again just that normal human desire to like hide those things instead of seeking resources, asking for support, or collaborating with administrators and other teachers to try to overcome some of those challenges. So when we put those two systems together, we're setting ourselves up for a system that's not built on trust. It's not built on openness. Um, it's having people hide things that really we should be bringing out into the open to work to improve. Um, this quote really struck me. We want to think about the role of feedback in instructional improvement. Again, our goal as a school district is not to hire teachers and then give them harsh evaluations and like just kick them out the door. We really want to be a place where we're partnering with teachers to facilitate professional growth, where when we have skilled educators that come in, they continue to grow and improve throughout their career, and that's going to be based on feedback. So this quote, administrators must develop their skills to provide clear feedback focused not only on instructional strategies, but on the student learning that is taking place in the classroom. That is really the heart of where teacher improvement is going to live. So therefore, formative teacher assessment, right? That assessment that focuses on providing that feedback in a timely way. It's not just that end of the year, one-time assessment, formal written observation. It is that ongoing, cyclical, reflective, and it's in partnership with that teacher. And that is really where we're going to see our teachers build capacity and grow as professionals. So just as a thought experiment for a second, I want you to think about a time when you learned new things at work to improve your performance. So what was the context? Did you get better at your job because you got a final summative evaluation from a supervisor? Or did you get better from ongoing feedback and then conversations, reflection, adjustment, collaboration with others? I would predict that most of you are thinking about a time that was based on that ongoing feedback, right? Most of us really get better at something. We see somebody else do it, we learn from them, we try what they taught us or what we observed, see how it works, reflect, and adjust. That's again talking about that much more formative feedback process. And just the usefulness, right? Like that formative process being so important. If we just compare for a second, like the student assessment, when we think about like that forward Wisconsin test, that's like that summative, how are they doing, standardized benchmark. Um, the usefulness of that data to individual student improvement and performance is very limited. The data doesn't come back for a long time. It's not necessarily connected directly to the context of what that student is learning. It's in a very, again, standardized format. I just want you to make that comparison to if we only are just focusing on that summative teacher evaluation rate, it's very similar to that. It's of limited usefulness to drive instruction. And again, what we're hoping to do is to have our teacher assessment like drive teacher improvement. So if we are not just focusing on that summative end of the year test, like the forward test or the formal summative teacher evaluation, we're going to see more teacher agency, more buy-in, more collegiality as staff work together to support each other in their capacity building and growth as opposed to competition, right? It can be fostered if we're just evaluating and judging, as well as the goals of individual teachers. So kind of like we would want to see the goals and context of individual students honored, we want to see that for teachers as well. So I also have some ideas of ways that this separation could work. So again, we need both summative and formative teacher assessments, but we could have a different administrator perform different tasks. So the AP, for example, could do the formative evaluations and the principal could do that summative evaluation. Another idea would be to move the summative to the fall to sort of get it over with. So it's looming, and that would open up space for trusting conversations and partnering between teachers and administration in like setting goals for improvement and getting that feedback and acting on that feedback to try to make some changes. And finally, a little bit more radical idea, frankly, is to just focus on like some minimum performance expectations for all and kind of just dive into that feedback and that formative assessment and evaluation for teachers unless we're seeing some red flags either through families giving reaching out, students reaching out, or just observations. But unless we kind of end up in that place where we need to do formal summative written evaluations, the focus really is on the formative. And again, the logic behind that is like, just to go back a slide, like we see teachers improve when they're given quality, timely feedback that's specific to the context that they're in. And when they have time then to act on that feedback and try to make improvements. And when professional development, of course, and resources are tied to that feedback. So that's really our goal. So that is my case for why we should separate the two types of teacher evaluation. And if you'd like to dive in a little bit, see for yourself some of the resources that I've cited tonight, here is a list of resources. Thank you. Does anyone have questions? Hearing none,